is such a powerful thing. You still want to experience the goodies.
Right. God's design is man and woman together. Like,
literally.
It is what it is. Like, that's the fact.
The way you're moving is not going to attract the kind of women you actually wish
exactly.
you could be with, you know? Yeah. We're ready. It is episode number
10.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Finally. I don't know how we even got here for real.
I know. This is a milestone for us. Mm-hmm. Like, I just in life in general, I'm just like, if nobody else is going to celebrate the milestones that, you know, I am. It don't even matter. Like, you got to celebrate for yourself sometimes. Mm-hmm. It don't matter who joining the party.
Exactly.
You got to celebrate. And I think like we said last show, instant execution to me is so valuable. Mm-hmm. And then we just really stayed the path. Like, and it don't matter. Like, nothing else matters. Like, what matters is our mission. And I'm so proud of us.
Exactly. We're really excited. Like, I feel like this is like, we're starting to really get our groove. Like, like we're just starting to really understand what is the real mission here? Mm-hmm. What is God really calling us to do?
Right.
Like, we started, but we really didn't have a full, clear idea. I know when we first started, we had put together like a mission statement.
Right.
Now we got to revise that just to make sure now we're like, okay, we know now what God wants us to do. And I think if anything now that we kind of have a better idea of what God wants us to do, we know the challenge is going to be even harder.
Right.
The
doors, It's like the doors some doors open after you start. I think that's why people, you see all the motivational stuff, just start. And it makes a lot of sense to me now because the vision don't have to be 100% super clear for you to just start. Mm-hmm. But then once you start seeing those little windows. Okay, like this area needs attention. Like, and it's funny because I think that's how this episode came about. Like, we're noticing through our discussions and scriptures and the topics that we're bringing to social media that there is a huge disconnect between men and women. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, that's probably obvious, but at the same time, the hurt that's there between both parties is like, has mind blown us, to be honest.
Literally.
The feedback that we're getting from some of the stuff that we're posting, maybe sharing an experience of our own or whatever the case may be, like the comments are they're deep.
Yeah, they are.
And so we just wanted to do like kind of a fun episode because I think it's very interesting and fun to learn the different perspectives, and why there is a disconnect. Like, what is going on there between men and women that has them wanting to not be in a committed relationship or like not want to pursue one, or they just simply have given up. And that's what's happening out there. Like, it's so ugly out there that people have simply thrown in the towel on God's design.
Exactly.
And what's funny is, like, I don't even think people realize that God's design is man and woman together. Like,
literally.
It is what it is. Like, that's the fact. And we can try to run from it and say, you could do without as much as you want to, but
like, I don't need a man or I don't need a woman. But we really do.
We really do.
To be at peace as a whole, as a community, as a whole world. Like, family is a foundation to how a whole country moves in a certain direction. And I don't think we really do see it that way. But I think we should still pray.
Yeah, of course.
Enter with prayer, and then we'll get really deep into what we've read. So.
Okay. All right. God, thank you for getting us here safely today. Thank you so much for just blessing us with a platform that has touched so many others and allowed so many people to just be vulnerable with us. We really thank you for that, God, just choosing us to do that task, to be a listener, to be a connector. Thank you so much. And I pray that honestly you take over and though we're doing a subject that might be a little lighter today. I pray that you still lead our words and help us to transfer the value from what's happening in society with men and women and really give some good, solid things that can bring more connection. I think it's a very broken sector. And I know that your design wants us to be united. And in order to do that, I think healing needs to take place. So I pray that you give us the words for healing. I really do. And I just pray over this entire platform. Like, I really hope that people are getting what they need from it. I hope that you keep your hands on us to continue. And this is yours. It's not ours. And I just want to glorify you for even putting us in this position. Amen. Thank you for everything. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to kick it off by just like making it very clear, like, how do we even get here? Mm-hmm. So there was an episode that we had posted previously before. I think we were talking about therapy. Mm. And I was explaining that one of the episodes I was watching, like a podcast as well from a doctor was explaining that one of the main reasons why men go into porn is because like they don't want to kind of put themselves out there anymore to be humiliated by other women and things like that. So it then drives them to just like, well, why am I going to deal with women in the way that they behave if I could just kind of take care of it myself? Right. So that clip sparked a lot of conversation in TikTok. For some reason, Instagram is not our leading platform as we thought it was going to be. Right. It's definitely TikTok. And, you know, men started commenting on it. And then another guy was like, really went into further detail about this conversation. He himself started like posting videos about the conversation we were having on our platform, you know, and I can immediately tell the hurt. And I was like, at first I couldn't understand why I could agree with him, but I couldn't fully agree with him. Until then I realized, I was like, Vany, this is it's so clear. The reason why they're having this disconnect is because our values are not set on the same thing. Right. So whenever he's like, you know, he was talking about like women, you know, if she's a 6 and I'm a 6, she's going to go for like a 7-8 and And I was like, well, can we work on becoming a 7-8 as a man? And he was like, well, what's the problem with being like with a 6 and whatnot? And I'm like, there isn't a problem. But I also, personally, I'm going to be so honest. If I'm dating a 6, you're not going to stay a 6 forever because we're supposed to add value to each other is my perspective.
And then even what are you rating a 6?
What's the measure? Yeah, exactly. Like what are you, what is the scale being measured by? And based on what a lot of our comments seem to be like, it's like their measuring scale is based on the way they look and their finances, right? That's what they're thinking that we women are measuring them through, right? Which
that's real shallow,
right? Yeah, because I'm like, I really wanted to be like, bro, like that's actually not the case, at least for me, and I can't speak for everybody, but I have talked to men that are 10s and I'm like, how did you even get here? Right? Like, I mean, I'm talking about professional ball players, basketball, football, doctors. Like, I've attracted those men who are physically super attractive and definitely financially well off. And it wasn't it. Like, we didn't lead anywhere because I was like, what you're bringing to the table is so far from what I really, really want. And it has nothing to do with your money. And there's no guy in this world that can tell me that I dated him because I was trying to get right with his money. Never been the case. So like that conversation kind of like lead us like, oh my God, like there's really a need here. Like we were just having a conversation about like, and I'm gonna put it in this way and it might be a little funny, but we were like, we want to make like wholesome women like great again, right? Because we recognize that like these men are saying like these women are like that, and we're like, but there are women that really are not like that, but it's because our values are so different. The woman 100%. That wants that is a woman that prioritizes God first, right? Like
that is that's the key right there. So when we say, I love that you brought that up, like make wholesome great again. Like it is kind of funny when you say it out loud just because of like what we're playing off of.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, our platform that's a really big piece of it. Right. I think like she said, what the men are speaking of is a type of woman that might be lost and is not prioritizing God.
Right.
And so you gotta, as a man too, you have to think, what woman are you even going for? Right. You know what I mean? And I'm not, and vice versa. I'm not even trying to make this a war of like, you know,
at all. We want to bring together.
We want to bridge the gap. Like, I think, first of all, we all have to get our foundation straight.
Exactly.
You can't say, oh, 6, 7, 8. Like, what are we basing these things upon? Mm-hmm. First of all, it should be based on character. Right. You know, like you being equally yoked with someone. Like, it's so much more than just looks and providing. Yeah, like,
for sure. So there was one dude, I promise you, I cut him immediately. I went to the movies with him, and this was like me, like after high school, you know, and you know, he was already doing pretty well because he had gotten into like a contract with this like music label out in New York. So he was already starting to like really get his money coming in, right? And I really didn't understand that world. That wasn't really what I was into anyways, but I knew that that's where he was going. So we went to the movies and we're chit-chatting, and he literally said, and I quote, he's like, "I'll do anything. I will sell my soul to be like successful." And I literally was like, at that very moment, I said, well, this is going to definitely be the last time that I'm going to hang out with him. Wow. And right, of course, other women were still throwing themselves at him because they knew like, oh, this guy has so much potential. He's going to be great. Successful. Right. But I immediately removed myself from that because my foundation and my first thing that I'm looking for in a man is 100% the relationship that he has with God, you know, and it hasn't always been that way because I'm going to be real. Like, obviously I've messed up. Like, I've been with dudes that told me they believe in God, but they didn't really live that.
Yeah, know? But that's tricky though. Like, we got to talk about that too, because anybody, like I said last episode, it's hard for me to say, you know, like to identify with being in a box of just saying I'm Christian because like it's used so loosely. Exactly. So anybody can pull the blinders over your eyes literally because they're proclaiming it. Yeah. But then nothing backs it up. So it's like they can trick you. Yeah. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I think they simply don't even realize that there's so many steps to being a Christian in the first place. So they're thinking, oh, I believe in God. That's not enough. I'm sorry. It's just not enough. So it's in people's minds. I really do think that they think that that's their foundation simply because they believe that God is there. Yeah. That's not enough. You know, it's just not enough. So that whole thing with like a man putting himself out there and saying like, I'm a Christian man, sometimes that don't mean anything. And that's sad. You know what I mean? Same for a woman though. But it's like, you have to use your discernment and see if like, are they backing that up? And I'm not saying it's not a perfection thing. Exactly. It's simply like, are they committed to being better through what we're being taught in this word? Exactly. Like,
I was having a conversation with actually one of our faithful followers, you know, Alanis, which is the one that, like, you know,
I mispronounced her name. Oops. Well, look, I'm Puerto Rican. A Puerto Rican. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Puerto Rican.
And I can't even speak Spanish. Like my grandma's full-blown Puerto Rican. Yeah. I always, first of all, I forgot to say this on any of the shows. I always get along with Puerto Ricans. Yeah. Like, Vany is Puerto Rican, and I just think that's so funny because throughout my life, it's just a click thing. Yeah. Like, I just click with them. I guess it's a piece of me. I don't know. But anyway, they speak Spanish. I can't. So I just butchered this girl's name all the way up.
I would also clarify, she's Dominican. At least Alanis is Dominican.
Okay.
But yeah, so anyways, we were having this conversation because of like the Bible study notes that I put on Instagram. And I was talking about like, dang, so is there actually like a sliding scale for sin based on like what I was reading in the Old Testament? And I'm not going to get too deep into that, but that was the base of the conversation. And then she had brought up like, but through grace, right? And I'm like, yes, but I feel like even in Christian, like people that claim to be Christian use that as a
crutch.
Like, yeah, exactly. To justify. Exactly. And I feel like a lot of dudes do that as well. And women as well when it comes to relationships. And how you were saying, it's not about like saying you're Christian and then that just means that you're going to be this perfect human being, but rather when you say you're Christian and you recognize that there's a process of sanctification, right? Like the sanctification is the process of becoming holy, and God is the only one that can help us get sanctified, right? He's the one that cleans us from the things that we're not even aware that separate us not only from God, but from healthy relationships with one another. So when I say I want a man that believes in God and that prioritizes God, I mean a man that knows to be vulnerable with God, that knows to be transparent with God, and that God is going to constantly sanctify him. So then he can better show up for me and vice versa.
Right. Because with that, with submission, which is the most important thing, he's then able to come in and work on us, change our hearts, like purge the things inside of us that don't belong there because they're not right. It's just so much to it, but you have to be submitted to that.
Exactly.
So that to me is like the biggest thing. Like, one, you believe. Two, you submit. So there's a huge difference, like between just knowing and submitting and like really seeking. I think you have to put in time for that. I think you have to practice patience. Like you have to abandon self in a sense. And I don't think everybody's willing.
It's a sacrifice.
Yeah, it's a huge sacrifice.
Exactly.
Because we can easily, and I have before, just been on a path where I'm doing things that are self-pleasing. It's easier. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's easier. Like, just go out there and do what it is that I want to do. But when you take up the cross, when you pick that cross up, you got to put yourself down. And that is what changes all of these comments we're getting. It changes your character. So like, I think men are looking for, and women, character that is solid. But if you don't have any foundation to change that and make it what it is, you are then going based on your own merit, which will lead you astray. I think that's the problem. And so I think so many people have been led astray that they're frustrated. And they're like, they can't figure this out. They're angry. They're hurt because you've been led astray. And I understand, like, my dating life is not godly. You know what I mean? I didn't do things the right way. I really didn't. And so it's very common to be in that process. But the thing is, men, you can't keep targeting women and saying they're doing all this stuff wrong. You need to get right. And women need to get right. And once you do, a lot of this stuff is eliminated because you can see through
you can have the discernment. I never say that word right.
Discernment. You can see through it. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that people can't still pull the wool over your eyes and lie and put on a show. It's possible, but I think you can eliminate a huge percentage of that by making sure that you're good and stop putting the blame on everybody else for how they are.
Right.
That's just my personal opinion.
So I want to kind of read some of the comments. I'm going to start with this one because I think this was good. Like, they went into great detail.
Okay, let's do it.
This is the one.
This is the fun part.
Yeah. So this is the one I told you. So I had put it on my personal page, like the clip of the video that I was talking about initially. And then I had said, for folks to tell us, like, put in the comments, what's the reason why men are now wanting to, like, they're not pursuing intentional relationships with women, right? So this comment was funny because his response was American women and like blank, like that was it. So then I was like,
he went for the jugular.
Yeah. So then I said, what's wrong with American women? Right. And mind you, like, none of these conversations are we walking into them like ready to fight.
Yeah.
We're really
we're open.
Yeah. Like,
so we welcome all.
Exactly.
Yeah. We want to know.
When I'm asking a question, please understand it's not coming from like, oh, like, I don't know. Like, let me really try to understand what's going on in your mind and in your heart and what's leading you to make this comment. So this is a lengthy one, but I'm going to read it because I think it is very important.
I'm so interested.
So he said, in my opinion, by the way, this is Mustafa is his name. So I think this is important to understand. He is not American. This is why he says American women. Mustafa Vany is what his Instagram's name is. And he says, in my opinion, a lot of mostly y'all's mindset, family values, y'all lack a lot of femininity, not all, but most. Y'all desire to be seen and heard by everyone but your man. American women want to be like men, not all, but most. They try to talk like men. They think like men, except when ish hits the fan. Right. This isn't just me saying this, by the way. Many men feel this way, and most that I know in happy marriages have women who proudly love their man and their household, and they tend to not be American women. The American women would put her, I like when he said this, so I'm not going to lie. He said, the American women would put her career before her man. She would put her boss before her husband. Truly sad, instead of her family first. This also means they are led by the right man as well. So can't fully blame the woman. Just my 2 cents. And then he kind of further talked about, because then I asked him, I was like, when you say they don't have traditional values, what do you refer to? Where do these values stem from? And then that's when he kind of gets into, he's like, the traditional values of your relationship with God, right? He goes into that, and then since he's Muslim, he's talking about what they believe in Islam as far as their traditional values. And he says in Islam, the family household is held in the highest regard. Same with true traditional Christianity, which is, I 100% agree. Ooh. I think
shook the room.
Exactly. I was like, it is 100% the lack of values and the lack of foundation with a relationship with God that is affecting how we are moving in this space of dating and relationships.
Right. I agree. Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
That was good. I think a lot of men they have this general box of women that they think of. When he thinks of American women, he thinks of that, which I get it. That is common. But we also have to realize that there's so many exceptions to that box. So it's everybody's trying to what I'm trying to say is everybody's trying to categorize men or women as one way.
Yeah.
You can't do that. I think that's already setting yourself up for doomsday.
Yeah.
There's always people out there that handle themselves differently. And also, just because your experiences are with majority of a certain woman, you can be going to the wrong environments. You yourself can be focusing on the wrong values to even start interaction with that person. We have to look at ourselves, is what I'm saying. And sometimes you might attract what you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's a reality of it as well. Sure. So it's so many aspects of that. But what I do like is that he's saying that the religion and your beliefs and your foundation sets the tone for everything else. And also what I love that he said, and I was going to go over that anyway, was just the family, the design of the family basically being the most looked upon thing. So when I was doing research on this particular topic, I was like, wow, basically the family is supposed to be the example of love and unity to everybody else. So it's supposed to be held in the utmost, like he said, highest regard. And I think that has been so diminished for so many reasons. Right. I mean, I don't think that's even something that's taken very seriously, because there is so many broken families. It's a lot going on. And I'm not saying that I'm not perfect. Yeah. Even the way that my relationship started, I feel like that I needed to repent because, my person, had a situation that was very long term. And I don't think that they both were healed from that. And I don't think that they both were, how do I say it? Basically, in a sense, when people have dealings with other people and it's real deep that, you need to then let them go through that, whether it's ending or done or not. Like, there's a period that people have to heal from it. And so I think I should have respected that time instead of still putting my interests with this person first. Because it's a serious thing, especially when a child is involved. You know what I mean? And I think we're quick to be like self, you know, this is what I want. It doesn't matter who it hurts. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of it. Like, that's not cool. There's a lack of respect for relationships and families in general, but families is like the powerhouse of society. So if we're not mirroring that correctly, everything falls to destruction. And I think that's what's happening.
Because I for sure, like, while I was reading the comments on TikTok, right, like, a lot of these dudes are saying, like, it's not worth it, it's a waste of time, or they're focused on, like, you know, what women are focused on, what they can gain from men. And honestly, like, my constant thought was like, so does this mean that you're not dating? Like, does this mean that you're then, because you know it's a waste of time, that's how you're
just out here,
right? Because you know they're just trying to, like, if that's how you feel, that women are just trying to get right with your money, would the wisest thing not to be then abstain from entertaining this? But that's not what's happening either, because they're still out there, they're still messing around with each other,
doing it anyway.
So they're not being intentional about attracting good women either, right? They keep messing around, because let's be real, I've been in situations where when a man was not led by God, that wasn't his foundation for real, as much as he'd be like, oh, but I went to church. No, you don't. You as a grown man now don't have a relationship with God. So when then I go in and I'm like, well, my relationship with God is my priority. So, you know, I'm abstaining from, you know, I'm practicing abstinence until I am married and whatever. Then they're like, absolutely not.
You know? That's crazy when that happens. That's also a response that I've gotten before as well. Like, nah, we're not doing that. Like, so then it's like, well, my foundation is on God, so that's why I am moving differently. But then you also don't like when I move differently, because it makes it challenging for you to do what you want to do. You know, so it becomes this really, like, I constantly, while I'm reading this, I'm like, I'm praying for these men, because I'm like, I want y'all to really find a relationship with God. So then you can see, like, that veil, that blind is taken off, so you can see that there are good women out here, but you're gonna have to move differently. The way you're moving is not gonna attract the kind of women you actually wish you could be with, you know? Why not abstain?
Like, it's such a powerful thing. You still want to experience the goodies.
I think that's one of the hardest things to do, because it's so uncommon. But I totally agree. It's almost like, just because you're not finding what you want doesn't mean that you just go out there and just be kind of like ruthless with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just pursuing, like, the sexual part of things. Like, in your emotional state, you know that you have given up on something serious. So you just go out there and just start hurting people.
And then you keep experiencing the same women that you keep having an issue with already.
So I think the key is looking inwards. Like, a lot of this stuff for both sides is looking inwards. Like, am I that person that can attract the right person that has their solid morals based on the right things? That's really the solution. Like, fixing your foundation, coming back and putting yourself probably in a little bit of like alone space until you figure out, why is this going this way? And a lot of times I think, even with me, like, I figured out, like, I wish I would have handled my single life so much different. I would be such a more prepared wife, like just so much more prepared in the role that I had to step into, that I chose to step into. It's inner work. Like, it simply is. And I think that everybody wants to play the blame game. And it's just such a simple answer. Like, if you're not going to do it right, don't do it at all. That way people will stop getting hurt. That way people will stop being so mistrustful of the other sex. Like, we have to do the work on ourselves.
Literally. I do want to see if we can get to more of those comments on our TikTok.
So many.
They were good, but it was good that people were interacting.
I actually, I'm not going to say names of people because I actually told them that I wouldn't share their names.
Okay.
Just because, I don't know, I thought that was
a good point.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't want to just put people, I want them, basically, I wanted people to be able to feel comfortable sharing without like putting themselves out there. Mm-hmm. But like, I wanted the knowledge and information that they were giving openly without them holding back.
Yeah.
So, this guy said, although many of us genuinely want meaningful connections, there are countless factors and influences at play that make it feel like an uphill battle. Many women, especially those who attract a lot of attention, are fielding messages from multiple men, which can lead to confusion about who's sincere and who's just looking for sex. Mm-hmm. That confusion can cause women to be skeptical or question the intentions of men who are actually wanting a truly deeper relationship. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, guys who try to be direct and intentional often feel overlooked or dismissed in favor of those who keep things casual or adopt a player mentality. And it ironically creates a cycle where it's easier and oftentimes more successful to avoid getting too serious. Even though many men do want something real. Then add in everyone's individual past traumas, fears, and mixed signals, and then boom, both men and women end up frustrated. Ultimately, we're all just trying to navigate a space where real intentions can easily get lost in the noise. I'll stop it there. But basically, he goes down and basically it says the patterns that he's experienced has made him hesitant to trust or pursue anything real, because now it's tough to not second guess his own intentions, because I guess when he's trying to get serious, either probably they don't believe him because of all the extra stuff, or they're going through trauma. They have dealings with someone else, like all of these reasons to where when he really puts himself out there, it just doesn't work out. So what he's saying is like, there's a plethora of reasons, why he wants, and I think that's most people, they want that genuine connection, but since it's not going well, it's just like, it makes you take a few steps back. But I think what we're saying is when you do take those few steps back, work on yourself, because I don't like it when women or men call themselves 6. Why are you calling yourself that? What is that? Even like, even if it looks wise, you think you a 6, you shouldn't think that about yourself. I'm sorry. I don't believe in that. I think God all created us, and someone is going to think you look a 10. Like, everybody has different tastes out there. Like, stop identifying yourself like I'm a 6. I'm a 7. I think that's not how God sees you, and that's not how you should see yourself. It's not based on how the world sees you. It's based on how God sees you. That's how you need to carry yourself. Automatically you a 10 because that's how God sees you. What everybody else see you don't matter. Like, shrug that off. I'm not trying to be like fairy tale mind, but in my mind, why are we calling ourselves that? Because you can be a beautiful woman that people classify as a 10, but your soul so jacked up that you have no inner beauty. Like, what does that make you? Like, that's not a 10. I don't think God thinks that's a 10. So why do you?
Exactly.
It don't make sense.
Yeah.
Who are you getting your validation from? Like,
exactly. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it's just a messy situation. I think it's really, I even think back at the time you were mentioning, like, you wouldn't even know that you're missing out if you actually like, because I was talking about one time, I was like, all I pray is that my husband, like, his thing work, and like, that we can have children. He's like, well, the thing is, like, God is not even going to put you in that position if you really prioritize him. He's going to protect you. So I think about the same thing about in this conversation. Like, if you really did prioritize God, he's going to protect you from being with people that are going to hurt you. Right. Like, I always think about like, I think I had mentioned it to somebody. I was like, don't let no Delilahs, like, come into your life. Like, and that story to me is so powerful because this man was so strong. And then a Delilah came and fooled him. She was able to put him in a really weak position that he couldn't even think for himself correctly.
And just led him probably straight to destruction.
Exactly. So I was like, be careful. But once he realized, whoa, like, how he messed up by entertaining a woman that wasn't any good for him, he got his strength back through God, right? You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. It's like, and don't get me wrong, like I was seeing this thing too, and not to get into politics, but I thought it was so interesting because my sister had sent me this video where she was like, the girl was explaining that men on dating apps. So let's set up the scene. They're on dating apps.
I know there's so many of those.
Right. So they're on dating apps. And even though they are truly like conservatives, right? So they tend to kind of go like they're more Republicans, let's say, right? On their dating apps, they'll put that they're like either liberal or like they don't really like pick a side kind of deal.
That's interesting.
So they would then be with women that are more liberal. And the girl was explaining, see, like this movement is because it brings peace to everybody. And men, if you're watching, let me know if I'm tripping. But my immediate thought, I was like, oh, these girls don't know what they really doing. These girls don't understand that the guys just know how to play the game. I'm obviously going to go ahead and like want to attract the woman that's more liberal because she comes with us standards. Right. So
I'm not, okay, you got to break it down for me because I'm not very familiar with like the identifications. I really don't get too deep into it. So I don't really understand the difference.
Yeah. So like typically like liberals are more of the liberals, right? They believe in some things that necessarily are not what the conservatives believe. Conservatives typically believe more so like the pro-life, kind of like they tend to know LGBTQ stuff, right?
Okay.
Like conservatives, right?
Okay.
They tend to move that way versus liberals are.
So where are conservatives when it comes to, well, just generally when it comes to religion?
Well, they tend to be more Christian.
Okay.
Right.
I see.
Now, this isn't everybody because, of course, some conservatives are conservatives for other reasons, more like the monetary gain from the common people, right? But in this situation, what she's talking about, she was like, guys that won't put that they're conservatives, they'll put that they're more liberal, and then they end up with relationships with more liberal women because they felt like conservative women were requiring more.
I see.
So then in my mind, while this girl was like saying like, see, this is why this is such a good movement. I was like, no, they're playing the game.
Right.
They're on a dating app telling you I'm not really a conservative. I'm a liberal. So they can F.
Right. Basically trying to play around.
Right. Because if he meets a conservative woman, he's going to know that, okay, she's going to have different sets of requirements and we're not going to move like that. Like I am trying to get married. I am trying to do this. So like, and I didn't even explain that to my sister because I'm like, hey, do your thing. Right. But that was my immediate thought. I was like, this isn't about them feeling more at peace being liberals. This is more about them trying to get away with doing what they really want to do is just mess around.
That's a good point, though. It's super. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm just like, okay, if you think about it like that and you like transfer that to like what's happening, that what we're talking about right now. You're saying that you want, right? And people talk about this all the time, that you want a woman of God, but then you kind of don't want what that comes with either.
The responsibility.
You don't want the responsibility of someone setting a standard saying, I'm going to wait. You don't like that. You want her to operate in a certain manner, but then there's certain things like her prioritizing God over you, refraining on being sexual with you and stuff like that. Maybe even trying to get to know you differently, like in different settings. Maybe not y'all going out to the club and drinking, or she's trying to really do things the right way. That I feel like that irritates men. But you say you want someone that is grounded in real character and doesn't use you as a transactional type of deal. So if you really want that, you got to ask yourself, do you want everything that comes with it as well? Like,
exactly.
It comes with certain things. It comes with certain restrictions. It comes with a strong mindset. It comes with somebody knowing who they are. Mm-hmm. You can't just run all over that person. Like, they're getting their strength and their validation and all of the things from God, mm-hmm. and not you. Mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. are you ready for it?
Exactly. Let's see some of the comments.
Okay. Someone said, okay, our question was, why are men tired of pursuing intentional relationships with women? So the first comment literally that pops up is simple. This is on our TikTok account. Men go where they are valued. Most men now have had bad experience where a woman shows or expresses she does not value him outside of transactional exchanges. That's funny because I just said that. That is sad. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say that just straight up. Mm-hmm. I think it's very sad that men have that perception of women. Mm-hmm. And I understand, like I said, that it's a common pool, but that's not everybody. Mm-hmm. Somehow you are attracting that. Mm-hmm. Somehow you might be pursuing them for the wrong reasons, and that's what you're getting. But are you using your own discernment? Mm-hmm. Is your own discernment even strong enough to be using? Mm-hmm. It's so many questions with that, yeah. But I do find it sad that as a culture, women are now known for that. Mm-hmm.
And I would say, but it is, let's be real though. Like I was telling you, right, when we started having this conversation, I was like, I just don't know. Like, in my personal circle, there's not a girl that I can tell you that moves that way, where right. she's just using men, mm-hmm. or like it's all a transactional thing, or like, I don't know any of my friends that have actually, like, while they've been in a relationship with a dude that has cheated on their dude. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because they already know I'm finna be the one to be like, absolutely not. Like, that's not how we move.
You don't condone.
But I would say, like, on social media, and this is such a main reason why our relationships are being ruined, is because on social media, we're seeing other things, right? Like, I have seen girls on Instagram, on a lot of, like, their notes or whatever, like, oh, who's gonna take me out to eat tonight? Right. So it's like, oh, so you're really just asking, or like, oh, I really want to mm-hmm. go to, like, eat some lobster today. You're waiting for a dude to respond and be like, okay, right. I'm gonna take you out. Mm-hmm. So then she's also putting herself in a position that obviously you're gonna attract the dude that's not being intentional with you, right. because you're telling them that you just want to go out to eat and mm-hmm. you want him to pay. Mm-hmm. And that is sad.
It is sad.
It is sad. Even how he's saying, like, there was also someone else, and I think he also kind of implied that too, like, you know, like that mental, like, emotional situation where a lot of women are not giving men the space to really even just tell them how they really feel. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
and I'm honestly, like, trying to get better at that, mm-hmm. because I think providing a safe place is so important for each other, and we don't mm-hmm. do that enough. Mm-hmm. And even as a person who's in a marriage, I'm still learning that, mm-hmm. because it's like, you want to hear what you want to hear. I'm guilty of that. Mm-hmm. I don't like to hear stuff outside of, you know, I don't like to hear stuff that's hard, mm-hmm. but a lot of stuff that's hard might be reality or how this person really feels. Exactly. And just because it makes us uncomfortable doesn't mean that mm-hmm. we can choose not to listen. Exactly. The whole reason for us to have this connection is to be vulnerable with each other. So mm-hmm. How then do we build a solid relationship if we can't do that, if mm-hmm. we're holding back all the time? So for both men and women, you got to create a safe place for the other person to express themselves. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a very serious thing. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Why intentionally get into a situation where you know you'll be taken advantage of, manipulated, not respected, not loved, etc.? It's like sending your location to the ops. Mm. Oh my gosh. You see how brutal this stuff is? Like, this is why we're doing this episode. Like, these men are
hurt men.
They're hurt, and they've had a lot of the same experiences. Mm-hmm. And I think Vany was saying she hasn't really seen it up close, but I personally have in real life. Mm-hmm. So I have seen personally where someone tries to do something nice for someone, like a man trying to do something nice for a woman, and it's almost laughable to the woman because it's not good enough. Like, mm-hmm. this restaurant is not fancy enough. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not an experience that I'm wanting for a first date. Mm-hmm. So they're judging the man based on basically, like, what he's doing and what that looks like on, the transaction, what that looks like on the first date. I think that's, it's sad to me. Like, that ain't it.
I can't second that behavior.
I can't either.
Just take me to what's a factory, whatever, cheesecake factory.
Right. It's about getting to know someone. Exactly. It's about the time that you're sacrificing to spend with that person, to take time out of your busy life to get to know somebody. Why is it a requirement for someone to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on you? They don't even know you.
Exactly.
I just don't get it. Like, why are you looking for that in the first place? Now, I am all for once a man starts to get to know you, they know your morals and values. Like, you know, maybe they up it a little bit. Right. But why do you think off the rip that you are entitled to that? It should be based on, are we even equally yoked? Do I like your character? Do you value your family? Like, what are we doing? Like, we need to be talking about all of the foundational things. So why does it matter if you doing it at a steakhouse? Yeah. It just, I don't understand.
Exactly. I was sharing with you, I'm sharing with people too, where it's interesting that standard though is not only like a thought from like a woman, like I got to be taken to a certain place, because some men have made that comment to me too, where I was explaining to ZJ that I was telling a story to my boss. This is a man. And I was telling him about, like, I went on a date with this dude and and I was telling him, like, you know, we went to like a little chicken spot, whatever. But that wasn't the focal point of the story. I was just telling him like what happened because a resident pulled up on us, and whatever. Like, that was really what I was telling him, how awkward it was when a resident like was there while I'm on a date. Right. And then he was like, you went to a chicken spot for a date? And I was like, yeah, like, what's the problem? And he was like, a chicken spot for a date? And I was like, yes, like, it was a lunch date. Right. And I really enjoyed myself. I had a good time with him. It just got a little awkward when the resident came, because she was all up in our space chit-chatting with us while I was trying to get to know this dude. Wow. But, you know, like, I was impressed because that's where we went. Like, I really just enjoyed the fact that he even took the time to pick me up, you know, tell me where we were going. Like, he didn't even tell me where we were going initially. He just like, oh, like, get dressed, get nice. And we went there, and regardless, like, I'm gonna look good wherever I go. It could have been just for a walk on the, like, a little, I'm a look good. So it didn't matter to me where we were going, you know. And like, he didn't really understand that. He was like, that's like kind of corny. And I was like,
it's corny because your values are not rooted in the right thing. And I think that's the whole point.
Now, did I go on a date again with this dude? Nope, because then it led to then we quickly learned on that simple date that, you know, we're not doing this. Like, he doesn't believe in marriage. You know, he doesn't want to, like, the idea of a woman coming.
So you found out that he did not match with your values, and it's totally okay. You tried. You want to, like, exactly. This is not what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be damaging. Like, you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Exactly. However, nobody's entitled for a man to just go and spend buttloads of money for them just because you're beautiful on the outside. Like, what does he know about you to be doing all of that? Like, I just don't understand. This is an interesting one. I like this one a lot. It says, bad behavior amongst women is glorified and even idolized. The idea that a man could enjoy his relationship seems laughable. Men's mental health and caring relationships is also last priority.
That's what I was talking about. There was one that was talking about like mental health, and literally it goes back to the when we were talking about, like, we're not creating safe space for our men to just be transparent with us, like really tell us how they're feeling, what they're going through, or letting them, like, hey, if they're not coming to us, because let's be real, I had this conversation with a couple of dudes where, like, there's some things that I'm just not gonna go to you about because it's gonna add, like, if we're in a relationship, right? Because if I go to you, it's gonna add this additional layer of complexity, additional layer of emotions and whatever. So I'm gonna need to probably not tell you first and go talk to one of my boys and let me talk to him and let's kind of
you can be more open without, like, consequences.
And, like, let him, like, you know, let's put a game plan together, like, he helps me with that or whatever, or maybe you're a pastor or whatever. And then when I kind of have my head straight as a man and I kind of have an idea where this is going, then I can tell you, because then I don't have to worry. You're not gonna like if I come with a plan to you, then you're not like as emotional, or you're losing it because like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Da, da, da.
Right.
Because baby, I got it. I already got a plan. Da, da, da.
That's me. You know? I ain't gonna lie. I get real like, you know, that's one of my weaknesses, to where I allow words in general, not only from the man that I love, but from people I love, to discombobulate me. If it's something that might be a little bit, I'm not going to say critical, but something that makes me uncomfortable, something that potentially feels hurtful, like all of these things. And I'm thinking, and that's selfish, because I'm then putting my emotions before the person who's trying to express something to me. That's not right. I think, you know, we have to listen with open ear, open heart, and not be ready to shut down or blow up at everything, because understanding can bridge so many gaps and make such a stronger relationship. So yeah, I definitely understand where they're coming from with that. Like that's one of the things I have to work on.
I know for me, like something that I had to learn with the father of my son is like, a lot of times, right, we're not in a relationship or nothing, but this is something that he taught me in that relationship that now I carry. I'm like, okay, I understand. It's like, we'll have a discussion or whatever, and I'm bringing up to him like, hey, this is what's going on, da, da, da. And he'd be like, okay, let me think about that, and I'll come back to you. And I'm like, come back to me. Let's talk about it right now.
That makes me mad too.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm working on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then he was just like, I just need time to like, let me think about it. Like, I'll get back to you. And at first I just didn't understand that. I kind of find it to be like kind of weak of him that he couldn't just communicate. Right. You know what I mean? And now I really understand is like, they're not going to immediately go into things with the emotional responses I am. So they do really have to like reflect on their thoughts. Right. So now it's just like, okay, I understand my role is to give them the space to kind of like sit on their thoughts.
Easier said than done, but it's required. Yeah, it is. For a lot of men. They need it, that space.
But you know, like those are the simple ways. Or one of the things we hear a lot, like, you know, being their peace. And again, I do believe it's being each other's peace. It's not just like one side, like the woman has to be the peace for the man.
Agreed.
But girl, yes, it is going to be. He's not going to want to come home. And every time he's coming home, all he's hearing is like something going off. Like there's always a problem. Like I think it's because we're also putting so much of like responsibility and expectations on each other. Right. Like
instead of serving.
Right. And then we're not looking for other people to serve other areas. Like your man doesn't have to be your every single thing.
Something I learned the hard way.
Right. Like you have to have your friend group and go to your friend group for that, and go to whomever for that other thing. Like he can't be your everything and you can't be his everything. Right. But you're going to go through life together. But
it's too much responsibility. And what I had to learn the hard way too is it's too much responsibility for your person to hold all of your emotions. You have to get to a point to where you are emotionally balanced. You know what I mean? To where one little thing doesn't tip you and you're tripping out. Right. Like, I think we have to have a little bit more control over ourselves and our emotions and how we react, because it's not right for somebody to feel the weight of responsibility of all of your emotions. Like, yes, they're supposed to, you know, care about them. You know, I don't believe in you see something wrong with somebody and you're not like, hey, are you okay? Like, I think you show concern, but taking on that as a whole boulder on your back, like I got to carry this person's emotions. If I do any little thing, it's going tip the boat. I think that's too much responsibility. We kind of got to be responsible. What I'm learning, and even through therapy, like I have to be responsible for my own happiness. I can't put that weight on somebody else or expect that person to make me happy. You need to make me happy. That ain't right. Exactly. It's too much pressure. And I think people can feel that. I just want to go back real quick to that same comment, because the first sentence, bad behavior amongst women is glorified and even idolized. I think, okay, that brings in this platform, right? I agree. I think that women are misguided. I think men are misguided. But as far as like us and our platform, we're saying make wholesome great again, is because the unwholesomeness is also, I get what he's saying. Basically, it's basically glorified. Like it's okay to be just totally outlandish when it comes to a lot of different things. It's okay to be open with your sexuality to a point where it's almost like, I hate the word raunchy, but what is a good word for that? Like, you're just so explicit with your words and how you see men, and it's open, it's out there, like it's in our music. Our music with these female rappers, I'm not gonna lie, some of the stuff they be saying is just wild. So like, I definitely understand like what, like, but it's so idolized. Like, people can't get enough of it. And I think the whole purpose of this platform, let's celebrate being wholesome.
Exactly.
Like, let's celebrate having values. Like, why is it that none of this stuff is celebrated over all the other stuff that leads to destruction? Why is that? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, why don't we celebrate the woman who puts her family first? Why don't we celebrate the woman who is at home reading her Bible, like really trying to be a better person? It would be nice to have celebration for those things and like really feel like society values me for being like a wholesome, high quality woman. And I want our movement to shift to that. Like, it is the thing to be the wholesome woman.
Exactly.
So I definitely understand what.
Yeah, because we're not squares. Okay, I
know. Like, it's like, and I'm right.
Like, because I'm not wilding out.
But like, you can still be yourself. You're unique, divine, full of flair, full of life, having fun. Fun don't have to be crazy stuff. Exactly. Like, fun is people like being around you. You like to move. You like to dance. You like to dance. You like music. Like, it doesn't mean just because you're a woman of value that all fun is shut down. Like, where do y'all get that from?
Exactly.
I'm really trying to figure it out.
I have a good time.
Same thing. I think this is the same category, so we don't have to go over it, but we have come to realize that 99% of women don't want us. They want our help.
So we don't like demons.
Oh, dang. Ooh, not him calling all women demons. Because y'all define us as incomplete and believe y'all hold a position of fictional power and use it as a weapon instead of a way to help your counterpart. It's not we don't pursue, it's that y'all abandon. Wow, that was very interesting. Do you totally understand? I think I understand the part where it's saying use it as a weapon instead of a way to help your counterpart. I think a lot of women can use their beauty to like mesmerize, but then when it comes down to like actually being there for someone and someone being vulnerable with you and living up to that role, it's like, I'm not doing none of that. What are you giving me? Like, I think that's kind of what he's saying. But as far as like the beginning part, y'all define us as incomplete and believe y'all hold a position of fictional power.
What he's saying is incomplete is kind of what most of them were talking about as like the way they measure, right? Like a lot of women are measuring you based on like your financial, like what do you have financially? Okay, you're incomplete because you still don't have, over 6 figures. You're incomplete because you don't have a 6-pack and whatever. Like, we deem them as less. And I've heard this a lot with dudes. It's like women, men, only the 1% are the ones that are really getting the attention, right? Like, and when we say the 1%, we're not really talking about like well, yes, those two, right? Because those men that are really up there, they have the attention of multiple women, right? But then in a more micro level, like the men that are typically a little bit more well off than the regular dudes, those are the dudes that are getting constantly attention. So I also just think about, okay, but like, how do we address that though? Are we just okay with just staying there? Because if it is financially, then what are you gonna do to get to the next level? Like, can we not address that? If it is that you don't have like, because let's be real, okay, you don't have to have a 6-pack, but bruh, if you're over here like in your 30s and you're still like you're dealing with heart issues and all this stuff and your health is not in a good position, we
need to be doing something about it. So basically you're saying you as a male or female shouldn't just settle for where you are. Like, does that person have the intent to get better?
Right.
Yes, I think we should all be striving to get better. I think that's why we come into each other's lives, because one of the points that I did read in the Bible when it comes to this subject is we're vital to each other for spiritual growth. So not only do we learn from each other, but we strengthen each other by sharing basically like our development. So basically we need each other to like push each other, right? To push each other in all areas, and spiritual is one of them. And even, you know, a lot of men who are speaking these things, like, are you a spiritual leader? Like, are you prepared to lead a woman and a family in a spiritual way that you can teach your children and encourage your wife to be on her word? Like, can you be that man? That's important. So also, it was something you said earlier. I don't want to go too far in it, but about everybody pursuing like the same type of man and like, you know, athletes and and how even though they have these things that women necessarily want, it's not a good fit for you. I've been there as well. And it's always a character thing when you get, I guess, like to that caliber of man that does that kind of stuff that everybody wants to go after because he has his stuff together. Just because you have your stuff together doesn't mean that that man can't still lead you to destruction, bro. I think that's what people fail. So you're telling me that as a woman, you would sacrifice your well-being in all other areas just because someone can provide a lifestyle that you want? That cost is too high. That cost is way too high. And it don't matter. Like, you ain't finna, like, you ain't finna take me. Yeah, it's just like a woman can do the same thing to a man, take him straight on to destruction because her beauty is there, but there's nothing else there that can enhance him, make him a better person. It's just like sucking you dry to where you have nothing left because there's no giving, there's no serving. I think we as men and women, we have to, we were put here to serve one another, and especially in a real relationship. Covenant, which I should mention is important. Covenant is so powerful. Like I said, just doing research on this, being in covenant is golden in the Bible. It literally says that there's so much power from two or more that agree that you can literally make anything happen. You can impact so many people just by that example. It's so powerful, and we should all, you can't give up is what I'm saying. We have to find that and access that power because that's how he designed it. So my whole thing is figure out a way to make yourself better and stop making excuses. If you're at a place to where you give up for this season, work on yourself, figure out what you can do better, figure out if you can, you know, get closer to God, do your best so that you can find what you're looking for, but don't just straight give up for the long haul, because how can you access your best self if you don't give yourself the opportunity to find that partner that really does complement you, and y'all are this powerful force under God that brings up a legacy and a family that then goes off to do the same thing.
Amen.
Like, we gotta think about our priorities here.
Amen. That part. All of us, self-included, right? Because you're already out the market, been out the market. Here I am, and I'm like, there's a lot of work for me to still do, you know, and like hearing the responses of dudes is definitely something that I don't take lightly, because I'm like, okay, let me just understand what's going on the other side. And
it don't stop in marriage though.
No, please. For sure.
Yeah, you gotta, that's work.
But then you have to prepare yourself.
Right,
of course. There's so much.
Right, exactly.
So I'm not over here gonna be ignorant and think like, oh, it's just gonna happen and da-da-da. No, like, this person, whoever I end up being in covenant with, is a completely different person than I am. What they believe is going to be different. How they move is going to be different. Their upbringing, their environment was always so different. So I need to know how to navigate who I am so I can better show up for that person. And that person has to figure out all of their stuff so they can better show up for me. And then we can work together. And
you're in a perfect position because you have that opportunity. I don't think it's ever too late to change how you want to operate. And, you know, people get a lot of, especially women, I think they get a lot of slack for that. You was just with all these men. So why when it comes to me, you then not want to give it up? This woman probably has gotten her heart changed through the word and has realized this is not the way.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. You can't. Who are you to convict her and tell her that she can't change and judge her for it and feel entitled to her or her body?
Exactly.
You're not.
Amen. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there.
Yes, indeed. I don't even think I said at the beginning of the show, welcome to Fine Kind of Divine. I didn't.
Welcome and see you.
Welcome and deuces. Just cheers to us, first of all, for our 10th episode again. I know. I can't drink, obviously. I got a whole baby in my belly, but thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to every single person who gave us, you know, some comments. We hope that you, we really hope that you got something from the show. We really hope that you go and work on yourself. Work on yourselves with us. Exactly. We love the company. That's what we're doing. Join us. Tell a friend to tell a friend that this is a place where we can grow together as a community. And like Vany said earlier, we thought our
mission was a little different.
Yeah, we thought our mission was different. And we also thought that this particular platform was going to attract mostly women. And it did not turn out that way. For some reason, our male audience is very large.
And very engaging too.
Right.
Like they actually, like we posted that video about like men telling us why, you know, they're not pursuing intentional relationships. And then we did something similar for women and crickets. It's like no one has said anything.
Right. And I think, I'm not going to say that I used to have a problem taking accountability. And so I think sometimes that could be a reason why, you know, they don't want to put themselves out there and admit like, okay, we wrong, or, you know, this is not that. I get it. That could be a reason. Or maybe men just find our show an avenue to express themselves so that they can get some intel.
Exactly.
Either, it doesn't matter why you're here. We welcome you and thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next Sunday.
God bless.